All right, everybody, we are back with more Symphony of the Night randomizer action. We got ourselves Scrimps here on the right versus Classic Advent on the left. This is probably going to be, in my opinion, the most interesting matchup we've seen so far. I think skill-wise, both players are very even in skill, but like in different regards. This is what I was talking about earlier on. Let's go ahead and let these players get started while I yap, though. And I'm joined today by Eldritch. How you doing, buddy?
3, 2.
Good evening, legends and heroes.
So yeah, like I said earlier, I think Classic Advent might have the relative advantage execution-wise. I mean, he is a world record level speedrunner after all. Whereas Scrimps, on the other hand, definitely, I think, has the leg up in randomizer experience. So it's going to be a matter of, oh no! Honestly, I'm popping that library card. I'm popping that library card. This start is brutal. Oh, dude, yeah. I think both players are going to pop the library card. Grab the shield rod and leave. I don't think it's worth staying here. Maybe try and get a couple kills for level ups and then leave, because Scrimps is opting to stay here, but this is probably the most brutal start out of the entirety of the random start randomizers. Yeah, honestly, just get out of there.
Like, fireworks don't mess around, dude. Like,
you have to kill him twice. You have to kill the guy on the back, and then you have to deal with the firework, which has an attack that covers like half the screen and does like all of your health. It's brutal. Also, yeah,
I'm not about that life.
Yeah, I think this is the correct play. This is the correct play 100% of the time. Yes, you're missing out on potentially skipping some of the progression or whatever, but it's not worth staying, in my opinion.
You're also missing out on the level ups, which can help defeating the bosses, but
you'll get those level ups anyways. You're in the first castle where everything's scaled down anyways. You have decent gear. I think they started with like Luminous or something. A decent sword.
Yeah.
So 100%, I think both players both saw the correct play here. Alucard shield dropped for Classic Advent here. I think Advent picking up the thrust sword as well, but Scrimps didn't see it. This was a drop from the books, I believe. And he finds it was S-Stock. So it's not something that's...
he got the S-Stock.
Oh, he did get it? Okay, good. I was going to say, yeah. The S-Stock will help these players break logic in a couple of ways, but it's nothing too devious, I'll say. Let me also just...
Yeah, like, the S-Stock is the only thrust sword in the SotN randomizer that we literally decoded as a thrust sword. So, like, the tracker still marks it as a thrust sword because technically you can get infinite gravity jumps with it, but we removed it from the thrust sword complexity requirements because doing book jumps with thrust swords, like S-Stock, is just, ugh.
Yes. It technically gives you that dive kick state mid-air, but the problem with it is that it is still relatively... what's the word I'm thinking of? It's bad. The thrust doesn't give you access to some out-of-logic stuff that other thrust swords would let you do. So tracking it that way, especially when the logic of the randomizer requires that like stalling mid-air thrust, it completely changes trajectory. But it does allow you to... get that dive kick midair, which does let you do some small skips, but we'll see if it ends up mattering. In general, if you see a thrust sword, you should go out of your way to grab it because it could come up later. So,
yeah.
And it seems like both players are opting to do similar stuff here so far. Yeah, I think generally when you have open warps, it behooves you to check the demon card because it's right here. You just have to kill a few enemies to get to it, and it's just Force of Echo, so nothing too crazy.
Well, I like this little deviation by Scrimps, though, headed for Coliseum first.
Yeah, very interesting. And we're seeing some interesting tech here. We're seeing the double shield setup. Classic Advent used the Alucard shield and shield rod here, but I don't think did the shield spell not actually take because he's not healing off of the flame. No, it did take. It's just being weird.
There is a tiny window where you won't heal off of that.
Yeah, I think
it'll do 255 damage, but it won't do the healing.
If I remember correctly, it has something to do with if you're in the animation of putting the shield away, it still has a hitbox, but it doesn't actually count towards the heal hitbox.
Right.
Yeah, both players also found Holy Glasses relatively early, which is interesting. It was just chilling in the outer wall. And now it's going to come down to who decides to go where and find what. And a duplicator is found for Scrimps by killing the Blade Masters here. That's a pretty solid drop to find early. Granted, as far as like combat goes, Advent's not out of this because he does have access to you. No, I think his Alucard shield is not working. That was very strange. Did he switch hands with it, maybe? That's probably what happened. He applied the shield spell and then switched hands. Okay.
But also note that Scrimps doesn't have the Alucard shield, so this is going to be a seed where it's Duplicator versus Alucard shield.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the interesting things about having the guaranteed drops on is like you're not guaranteed to find the same exact items as your opponent, but the odds are you're going to find interesting stuff. You're going to find decent stuff here. And Scrimps does go out of his way to kill Minotaur and Werewolf here because this preset does require that you kill all bosses. But in doing so, he also goes out of his way for Skill of Wolf, which, funny enough, Skill of Wolf technically can be a progression relic very rarely, but it does come up. Specifically, things like allowing you to do the Wolf Charge to get to Succubus in the caverns. I believe that is in logic in very rare circumstances. It'll also open up logic to allow you to drop down into the mines, but these players have the button that just breaks the bridge for them, so you don't need to do the bridge jump.
Now, here's the interesting thing. Classic Advent has already found Jewel of Open and Merman Statue. So Skill of Wolf still in play, despite the fact that we've seen a lot of relics found.
That is true, yeah. A lot of relics have been found, but yeah, Classic Advent doesn't even check the relic. I think his thought process is here, I'm in the Coliseum, I have to... Oh, he gets the duplicator drop as well. Ooh, that could be... that could make a pretty big difference, but... Eye of Vlad dropped by the Marionettes here for Scrimps. That was the first familiar card that they found immediately. And Scrimps doesn't even go out of his way to grab that library card. He doesn't need it. He has the duplicator. So as long as he doesn't accidentally throw away his library card, he's fine. He doesn't need more. Yeah, very interesting start. I like this. I like the seed so far.
I like this drop through Forbidden Route by Scrimps, dropping down so that he can do the entrance check and then go up through Slogger and Gaiben.
He can do that, as well as also he could, because I think he hasn't been to Castle Keep yet, so he could instead pivot through the warp to get to Castle Keep as well. So he has options depending on what he finds at Castle Entrance. So this is a very smart route. We call it the Forbidden Route because, generally speaking, if you're going through it, it's probably not a good time. Like, your routing is probably, like, something is weird with the seed, or your routing is a little bit weird. But in rare scenarios like this, it ends up being pretty interesting. Oh, and that's where Merman Statue was.
My favorite section of the castle.
Oh, yeah. It's just a very unique aesthetic. You get some of the most unique enemies are also down there. I'm not that big of a fan of it in the reverse castle, but in Castle 1, it's pretty cool.
And Scrimps using that teleporter to head to Demon Card.
Yeah. Advent does grab the library card. That will make his menus a little bit more awkward later on. And funny enough, they have the same idea here. They're both choosing to go through the Forbidden Route after checking Spirit Orb, which makes sense. They're still on layer 0 as far as progression goes. Theoretically, I think the Jewel of Open is probably the thing that the game wants you to use to go to the caverns. And although, wait, no, in this preset, caverns isn't in logic with Jewel of Open necessarily. Interesting.
Necessarily.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure the game expects you to be able to use the warp system. Oh, but they don't have double jump or flight yet. So actually, yeah, Scrimps is showcasing that you can't actually do that yet. Where is he going?
Maybe he thinks that Grand Falloon is the answer, but Grand Falloon is not in logic without Leapstone.
It is not in logic. However, the map terrain is altered in a way that he can get up without Leapstone, so it's not like he's soft locked down here. Previously, before those map changes, this would be a soft lock. So this could be him thinking to himself, well, this is out of logic, but it could potentially help me skip logic. So that could be the play. He is save splitting as well. Oh, but you need to kill the bosses anyway, so Advent's doing the same thing. This is very strange. My thought process 100% is going to caverns and using the Merman Statue to my advantage if I'm Classic Advent.
I also don't understand this idea of leaving behind the MP max up there. Like, maybe they think that they'll need to refill on the way up, or...
Maybe. Yeah, because MP max-ups, I mean, maybe their thought process is I have Duplicator. If I find a Mana Prism, it won't matter. I don't know. Or maybe they're just hard focusing on their route. But, I mean, at this point, looking at both players' screens, they're in the same zone. But
oh, there's the Mana Prism.
Yeah.
Speak of the devil.
Yeah, I think the main difference, though, is Advent is just done more checks. So his lead is looking a little bit more real right now because they've done the same bosses. It's just that Scrimps is missing the Jewel of Open, which I forget where it was.
I didn't catch
I think it was Castle
where
Keep.
it was.
Because I think that's the only difference is Advent has done Castle Keep and Scrimps hasn't. So I think this is going to show the Scrimps isn't using the duplicator yet. I don't think he has a good throwable. And Advent has been able to use that Alucard shield. And the Alucard shield is definitely proving to be, I think, just more efficient at getting enemies out of the way, using the iframes to move more efficiently. So yeah, overall, it's looking pretty strong for Alucard shield versus early duplicator here. But yeah, Scrimps is now having to do Soul of what
Magic
the
Missile and Pentagram. Okay.
Okay, what are the odds
Soul
that
of Bat here
being
means
there?
that Soul of Bat was locked behind Leapstone at least, or Gravity Boots.
Leapstone or Gravity Boots, yeah. Or Mist, Power of Mist, theoretically as well. But regardless, that is an insane find. Because it did not need to be here. And thankfully enough, both players are going to be finding this about the same time. So we're going to continue to have a competitive match here. But I do think this does benefit Advent overall, because he now is basically in his comfort zone, you know? Being an 80% runner and one of the best 80% runners, if that, now has access to infinite mana plus wing smashing, like, and also just a fantastic Dark Bat setup there, like using the iframes from the Mana Prism to stand in the right spot to do the upward wing smash, like absolutely beautiful execution. And Scrimps takes off the duplicator, but is going to be putting it back on pretty soon if I had to guess after finding this. So, and Holy Symbol is the relic here at Spike Breaker, so not necessarily in the complexity chain.
Like, I understand the trepidation behind having a duplicator on all the time versus, you know, how much damage you could take.
Yeah.
But I just go ahead and leave it on.
Yeah,
if he's looking for something to backdash cancel with, those monster vials will do the trick.
So Gravity Boots was locked behind Gravity Boots, or Flight of some kind. So maybe the Bat was the intended form of Flight, and they're supposed to find Leapstone just somewhere in the caverns, probably, if I had to guess. But
yeah.
Scrimps is saving the game, so he's still here in the catacombs. Meanwhile, Advent is making some serious progress. And this is all coming from the fact that he didn't find the Alucard shield early enough, and that was in Castle Keep. So opting to save Castle Keep for later is a little bit biting him in the ass. However, his Castle Keep trip is going to technically be more efficient because he can do it all at once now, whereas Advent's already been there. But, but the difference is that like he made up that time and more by just having more efficient combat, more efficient movement with using the Alucard shield to get enemies out of the way and whatnot. So sometimes having a quote-unquote less efficient route can still pay off if what you find in those locations just saves you the time that you would be losing anyways and more.
Scrimps using the same setup on the Dark Bats, or Blind Bats, so that he doesn't have to... Oh, no! You got to do that downward wing smash.
Yeah, this is very tricky. I think he was trying to avoid the downward wing smash, because downward wing smashes can be relatively technical. I know a lot of players have trouble with it. But that might be, he has his own setup where he just kind of slowly inches to avoid the spikes. But right there, that ended up being quite scary. Quite scary indeed.
See Classic Advent heading for entrance, so he can do the alchemy lab checks, I bet.
Yeah, most likely. And especially with Gravity Boots and Soul of Bat, like this movement is very, very smooth. And Scrimps not too far behind. I mean, this could come down to some late game routing decisions. I'd say he's probably like maybe a minute and a half behind, which like, especially in a preset like this, it's far from over. This tends to be one of the longer presets generally in this tournament, because not only do you have to kill all the bosses, you also have to find the familiar cards, which then unlock your ability to find the Vlad relics. And then you have to go to the enemies that drop the Vlad relics, kill them, then go back to the central clock room. So there's a lot of like back and forth fetch quest style gameplay here. So having clean movement, obviously important, but also it could just come down to, you know, deciding to go one direction, which has a more efficient route in the long run versus another.
Yeah. Now here we see our players are just kind of routing around. They have the Bat, they have the Mana Prism. There's not a lot else that they really need. Movement-wise, I guess you could always just hope for Mist, Leapstone, those kinds of things, but
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if we never see Leapstone.
Yeah, even if it comes up, you might even like, I don't know, save split it away or something like that. Like, it's very useful and it can save time for sure, but it's by no means required. We do see the heart card from Classic Advent behind what's normally the Bat card location, and it's the Shmoo enemy that drops the Heart of Vlad, which in this preset we do have access to reverse library cards, so getting to the Shmoo is going to be incredibly easy. Essentially, as soon as these players get to the second castle, they'll be able to do it.
Doesn't the Shmoo hold all of our hearts, though? We love the Chrysogrim.
Oh, of course, yeah. Absolutely. And this is an interesting decision. Advent opts to not go up to all rocks quite yet, and instead is going to be clearing the rest of the caverns. I think this makes sense because you have all the warps open to you anyways. So, like, you don't really need to go to all rocks anytime soon, especially without Mist, because then that locks you out from a more efficient route where you eventually, combine the all rocks checks with, like, Silver Ring, which is kind of like the general...
Also, Succubus is just a weird thing to route in.
Yes. Yeah, generally speaking, getting to Succubus oftentimes ends up being a little bit awkward, but Scrims did find Fire Shield, so at the very least he has a Shield Rod option that does a lot of damage. He's using the Bat Monster Vial to both dash around and to do damage. It's not super efficient, but hopefully here he kills the Flea Riders and gets that Alucard Shield drop. Otherwise, until he finds like a decent throwable, he's going to be in for a pretty rough time. So theoretically, this is one of those places where you don't have to kill them, and he gets the $25 drop. Didn't get the Alucard shield yet. He's opting to skip them. This could be risky in the long run, but we'll see. He's going to have to like wing smash through them or something. Or like just spells? I would use spells, maybe a soul steal? Yeah, it's looking like...
just try to avoid them.
The problem with avoiding them is you miss out on the drop, though. And that could cost him in the long run. Yeah, it looks like Advent actually has been skipping. Yeah, because looking at his tracker, he didn't get Power of Wolf yet. He also skipped Skill of Wolf, so... Either he's skipping those relics because he knows he doesn't need them, or he hasn't been back to Castle Keep yet. I think he hasn't been back to Castle Keep yet, so...
Also, it may just be a force of habit skipping the relics that you know you don't need.
Yeah.
You know, from back when we didn't have antifreeze.
Yeah. I mean, you also do lose time and movement as well, theoretically. So, like, you know, it's a 1-2 second difference, but sometimes that matters. He did check you just skip Power Wolf? Okay. That makes sense. And
that didn't kill Scylla instantly. That's interesting.
Probably didn't chain enough wing smashes, but there's Leapstone. Yeah, I think you do go out of your way for this because you're already here. You already killed the boss, and Leapstone increases your movement speed every time you want to transform into Bat because now you can dive kick into the Bat transformation, giving you a decent increase in that like initial speed. It's very nice.
Not only that, it gives you access to like front slides into Bat, that kind of thing.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Perfect.
And Scrims is back in entrance now, doing some extra item checks. I think he's very desperately looking for a combat solution right now, which is unfortunate. He missed out on that Alucard shield. Who's to say that another Alucard shield won't pop up later, but because the way that these randomizers work is I believe it's not like a 1-to-1 shuffle of items. Like you can get multiples depending. Not from enemy drops, but like items on the ground are shuffled amongst like a different pool, right? Something like that. So theoretically, he can find an Alucard shield on the ground, but I don't think he can find one dropping from enemies anymore. Alucard shield dropped from the ectoplasm in the library?
The chain of complexity so far is Jewel into Leapstone, into Bat.
Yeah, I was wrong. It was ectoplasms that dropped the Alucard shield. Okay, so Scrims has more chances to get them just from wing smashing through them anytime he uses a library card. Okay, so I was mistaken. I thought they were Flea Riders for some reason. Yeah.
No. I was like, I know he got it in the library. I couldn't remember which enemy.
Oh, Scrims using the fire boomerangs has got to be careful. That can...
Yeah, like if you use too many fire boomerangs, turn into that.
Yeah, don't soft lock yourself. But, I mean, you would need to be... It's pretty tough to do unintentionally. You need to double hand the fire boomerangs and then, like, throw them as quick as possible and then immediately transform. Which, like, if you do that on accident and you don't know about the glitch, that's, like, I don't know. That's unfortunate. And I think with antifreeze on, there aren't many things that fire boomerangs can break, because it mostly comes down to like the other things that can be broken is like anytime the screen freezes when there's too many fire boomerangs on the screen.
Yeah.
So I
It
think
just
it's fine.
spawns so many entities. Holy cow.
Yeah. Fire boomerangs can soft lock you in bat. Yes, if you throw 6 fire boomerangs very quickly and then immediately transform into bat, it never actually finishes. Or missed, yeah, missed as well. It never finishes the animation of transforming you, but it takes away your control of character, and you're just forever soft locked. So, another familiar card found, Thornweed. Interesting. So Thornweed is one of those weird ones where you have to wait for the enemy to fully spawn in before it is considered a Thornweed, as opposed to just the
No,
Une.
Thornweed is the opening, the starter one.
Really?
Corpseweed is the one you have to wait.
That's what it is. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Sorry, I get them mixed up. Thornweed is the opposite, so never mind. You would think a
But
guy
also
who
keep
plays
in
this
mind that
game.
you can't just walk into a room that has like blue Venusweed or Venusweed and get a Thornweed. Those are separate. Those are different.
Yes. So you have Une, you have Thornweed, you have Corpseweed, and you have the Venusweeds. A lot of weed in the. Dracula keeps growing weed in his castle.
I mean, have you seen the Outer Wall?
True. Depending on the time of day, if you show up at the wrong time at the Outer Wall, you're getting hotboxed out of there. Okay, Advent finally returning to do Castle Keep. And I think at this point, he's basically done with First Castle. He hasn't killed all the bosses yet, but like he could choose to do all rocks at this point, or he could choose to go Second Castle and clean that up first. There are reverse library cards. If anything, you should at the very least save Richter before doing anything else, because this unlocks the ability once you save Richter and step on the pedestal.
Reverse library card, yeah.
It unlocks the ability to do reverse library cards. So even if you stay in the First Castle, the reverse library cards are incredibly useful.
Here we see Succubus tempting Scrimps. Scrimps says, "No, thank you, not today. I've got a race."
Mm-hmm. And Classic Advent is doing that. He is staying in the First Castle, but I don't think he stepped on the pedestal. So either he's thinking to himself, "I need to kill Crossmon because I'm right here. I just forgot," or you also have to reapply the Alucard shield after that cutscene with Richter.
Yep. Oh, he did it wrong though. Oh no!
Oh, he's fine as long as he doesn't switch hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, because now that he has
this
the...
is a better
infinite
setup
movement.
with the duplicator anyway.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to be double shielding it once you have duplicator anyways. So, okay, I think that's what originally was the thought process is. Okay, I do want to go Second Castle, but I forgot about Crossman. Let me get that out of the way now. I mean, you'd have to come back to kill Allrox at some point anyways, so maybe killing Crossman right
And
there
Lesser
didn't matter.
Demon, but he wants to get missed before he does that.
Yeah, I think Classic Advent's thought process is I'm gonna get missed somewhere in the Second Castle, most likely, and then from there I'll warp back and clean up. That is one of the nice things about requiring all bosses is your opponent has to go there at some point too. Like your opponent can't just like skip a boss if they plan on winning. So with that in mind, you have access to like routing things in later. Thinking to yourself, okay, I can safely skip Allrox now, and even if it is a thing that I need, at least I'm making progress in the meantime. Or you can just find Mist immediately in the Second Castle. It's fine. Don't worry about me. Yeah, I was gonna say, if there's a world...
Me, myself, and I, like, I'm still going for the rest of the bosses.
Yeah, exactly. You should probably stay here since you're here. But I was gonna say, yeah, in a world where Allrox or Sword Card has Mist, it doesn't like completely screw over Advent, even if it could open up a slightly more efficient route later on, but it's not that big a deal.
Although I don't agree with going to Medusa. I would save that for coming back.
I think left side here, yeah, maybe makes a little bit more sense, or just warping around a little bit. Oh yeah, because you would use the warp, actually. You wouldn't want to do left side. So, actually, no, I think with warps open, this route might be a little bit better, because you go to Aquidon, get the... Oh no, because you need to go all the way to Beelzebub. It's so awkward with warps open, how to route the Second Castle. We actually talked about this a little bit yesterday, me and Crazy Four Blades. In the match between you and Ren. We were talking about, like, how do you route the Second Castle with warps open, right? Because it's like,
yeah,
this whole right side, there are warps nearby, but also there are bosses. So it's like, at what point do you decide to warp I guess mines is the most useful warp available as far as like reaching bosses late.
Density. Yeah, it's all density.
Especially because the bosses are required. It's not like one of those things where you can just choose to skip them. And on top of that, we still haven't seen all the familiar cards too. So like depending on where these players find familiar cards also matters, right? Because if you
excellent prism into shield there against Docmadon.
Oh yeah. Don't want to get grabbed. Say no to hugs and
No
say
hugs.
no to drugs. But yeah, depending on where like Scrimps, for example, finds familiar cards, that could make a pretty big difference in routing. But so far they've all found the same familiar cards. Shmoo, Thornweed, Marionette. And the Marionette relic has been acquired for both players, so... Like, for example, if Scrimps decides to stay in the first castle and then finds a familiar card of an enemy that only exists in the second castle, that could help his routing be a little bit more efficient. But, I mean, at this point, I feel like Advent is just schmoving.
He's not being slowed down at all.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
even when he bonks, he turns into mist immediately and gets back to moving again.
That's the world record level difference, execution-wise. And Scrimps isn't playing bad by any means, but I do think this does showcase a slight difference in just, like, execution. And in a seed where you find Duplicator of Mana Prisms bat early, that is going to favor the, the world record level player, generally speaking. And funny enough, Scrimps had the choice between this preset and Nimble Light, and I think he chose this preset because he didn't want to do Nimble Light against Classic Advent, someone who has literally world records. So, I don't know. It's kind of like damned if you do, damned if you don't in this one scenario, but, I mean, Scrimps was playing to his outs, for sure, by picking this preset to begin with. And it's still not over by any means. It's just a matter of, like, can Scrimps figure out the logic of the preset quick enough on top of like catching up as far as like clearing bosses and whatnot.
Yeah. And that's something that comes with the all bosses bit, right? Like, sure, you can figure out where the seed wants you to go to get which relic and all that, but you still have to go to certain locations just because there happens to be a boss there.
This lead is pretty much dedicated to Alucard Shield. I mean, the start of this lead definitely started from the Alucard Shield, but I think execution is also playing a big role, for sure.
Yes.
And also, I mean, like, finding Mist is one of those things that just only increases your movement potential as well when you are dealing with a player of this caliber as Classic Advent. Like, giving a world record level player access to literally all the movement options, you're only going to see solid, if not amazing, execution. And so far, I mean, Advent is putting on a showcase.
Mist Bats, Mist Wolf, like, doing Mist transformations in general is just going to open up so many faster movement options and being able to get into and out of places faster.
Yeah, and Advent has also practiced a lot of these rooms with like maximum movement, right? Anybody who's played an all bosses speedrun or even glitchless, like you are thinking about what is the fastest point from point A to fastest way to get from point A to point B, and oftentimes that when you're doing speedruns and you have those movement options in a randomizer, the same that you would in a speedrun, the speedrunning players have more practice in execution. So, but one thing that is interesting though is Scrimps did decide to stay in the first castle, like I said, which is a interesting decision point. But in doing so, finds a familiar card early and the silver ring early, and unfortunately it's Merman, so he doesn't get to fully capitalize on it by being like a second castle only enemy. But you know, randomizers do be random. You can't guarantee getting an absolute blowout lead because of something like that.
It's true, but like, you know, with the library cards and everything, I think that this is a good opportunity for him to do like, you know, go to Silver Ring check. Well, he can't do Silver Ring because he doesn't have Mist.
Yep.
Yeesh.
Yeah, I mean, he still has a light information advantage for right now because of the extra familiar card and the silver ring found. So as soon as he finds gold ring, where he finds it can inform him about the complexity chain. Him knowing where familiar cards are could inform him about potential skips in the second castle. Like, I think in a preset like this, opting to skip Force of Echo is a pretty powerful play because, it's one of the few relics you're allowed to skip because there's no boss involved with it. So Classic Advent is going out of his way to do Force of Echo right now. But if Scrimps finds, in fact, he could be pretty confident that the only missing familiar card is the final one in progression. So maybe he actually skips everything except for the bosses in Second Castle. So this information could come up to help him save time.
The Holy Glasses was random. This is the Varda. Okay.
Yeah, Holy Glass is random. I think so far the progression
It has to be a Soul of Bat, the final piece of complexity. Because we've seen Holy Symbol. We haven't seen Silver Ring yet, so it could be there. But, like...
Well, because Bat was found behind a flight layer. I think the intended form of flight was Gravity Boots Leapstone, right? And that was
It was Jewel of Open into Leapstone into Bat.
Mm-hmm. So that's 3 layers, and then... Oh, because, Second Castle is also unlocked by flight, so it's the same layer. So that would mean Mist is layer 4.
Final card is that Glass is guaranteed, and the second ring is behind Mist. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think that is correct, yes. And Scrimps is going to be probably, depending on how his Second Castle route pans out, going to be first with that information. In fact, I think it's the correct play as soon as he finds the Mist here to go back to the first castle. 100%.
Yeah.
Because
just
that means you get the complexity.
Wait, did he just walk out of there and forget about it?
No, I think he's doing these checks first and he's going to grab it on the way out. Yes. And he finds a Flame Star, which is going to increase his combat potential. I would library card immediately if I was Scrimps, because the idea is you're going to be doing the second castle at some point anyways, but if you clear the first castle, you get all the familiar cards and the potential to have all the Vlad relics already in your inventory. The only punish is, no, if you have all the familiar cards, you know which ones you're missing in the second castle. So yeah, this is, honestly, this is Scrimps' chance to claw back the lead
and
here.
He's throwing it.
We'll see if he maybe is doing a half route where he's like, I'm going to do these bosses now because there's no reason to speed them up later. But the hard punish is if like Balloon Pod or Black Panther ends up being one of the enemies you need to kill, and then you're backtracking through this area anyways.
God, during the Bounty Hunter tournament, I mean, it was literally like Tombstone was on the list almost every time.
Yeah, and he just got a library card drop, and now he's looking at his inventory. He paused the game. I think he's maybe trying to
maybe
think
he's considering that option. Yeah, he's sorting for medicine.
Oh yeah, so
Strength potion. Okay.
So either he had a plan where he wanted to do one more check to try and like mitigate like finding a ring or something, but either way, he makes the correct call here. Because no matter what, he should be finding all of the familiar cards, and now this is his chance to like catch up. The only downside is that Advent has just now full cleared second castle, so Advent is basically right behind him. Yeah, he needed to library card earlier.
Still, as Advent has these bosses already done.
Yeah, so I mean, Scrimps is full cleared first castle as far as bosses goes, but it's yeah, I don't think there's a world where he can catch up at this point. Oh god,
and Advent's like not even on his tail, like he's riding his bumper.
Yeah.
On a fucking skateboard.
Yeah, even the menus, I'm noticing a difference. Like Advent is very confident in controlling the menus, whereas Scrimps is like slower to scroll. That one menu alone is enough for Advent to catch up. Having more confidence in knowing how to quickly sort menus is a skill in this game. It's one of those things where, I mean, my dyslexic ass struggles sometimes, but like, you know, there's a sort function. You can use it to your advantage. Yeah. And being able to navigate those menus quickly. One of the first ever, he just doesn't pick up the familiar card, by the way. Scrimps just smashes through that Thornweed and just like doesn't pick up the familiar card. I mean, he has more options to pick it up later, but I just found that funny. But yeah, one of the first big revolutions that I remember in stealing world records in Symphony of the Night any percent was just being able to menu faster, like things like mashing the cell menu in the shop, being able to sort your menus more efficiently for the final ascent. Those were like 1 to 2 second time saves that ended up mattering at the world record level. And oh yeah, this is also another unfortunate bit of routing here where Scrimps is now backtracking through Chapel, whereas Advent hasn't done any of this movement yet. So his movement is going to be slightly more efficient because of it, because he needs to do All Rocks, he needs to do Sword Card, and then he needs to do Hippogriff afterwards. But he's going to be able to combine that with
The silver ring check.
Yeah, the silver ring check. Exactly. And then he could just turn around and do Holy Glasses right afterwards.
Yeah, this one was kind of just, you know, because of early bat and an Alucard shield, like,
yeah,
it kind of became Advent's seed.
Yep, and it was Advent's seed to lose, and has, I mean, he's just been executing on a near perfect level from my perspective, like as good as you can expect in a randomizer playthrough. So in a way, like, we could argue about like the item drops early or whatever, but it does come down to, like, you still need to execute at the end of the day. Like, it is up to you to stay in this.
Yeah, and that's what we've seen a lot of, right? Like, routing will get you a very long way, but you have to be very consistent with your execution as well. I'm not saying you necessarily have to be the best executioner, but you do need to have consistent execution.
Yes, exactly. I think having a certain, like, you must be this tall to ride the ride level of execution is a big deal, especially in like a tournament scenario where you're playing against players of all different execution levels. And routing and decision making can be the thing that helps you catch up. But sometimes, you know, some seeds you're advantaged by having that better execution, especially in a seed that gives you mana prisms, duplicator, bat early. All that stuff is definitely a benefit to Advent. But also, I mean, sometimes practicing your execution pays off. Just getting in the lab and doing some real practice can be the make or break point.
This is where I always recommend to people. It's like, you know, we've noticed that a lot of people in the long library are just absolutely afraid of equipment checks, or even to, you know, the scenic checks, the, you know, 118 checks. Do those seeds, do those presets, and you will get better at execution in almost every single scenario, because you have to be able to move quickly going between all of those weird places.
Yeah. Advent forgetting all the shortcuts are open. That is true, actually. Yeah, I think the better route for Advent, it could just be like an autopilot thing, but a better route would have been to go from Chapel, kill Hippogriff, do Silver Ring, and then do All Rocks afterwards because the shortcuts are open. That is true.
Yeah.
It would have been slightly more efficient.
Colosseum, coming back from Hippogriff would have been much faster.
Yep. And it's one of those things, too, where it's like, it's faster, but if the difference is like 30 seconds, when your lead is already this large, you know, sometimes the quick decision making as opposed to sitting there and thinking for 30 seconds does make a difference. It's one of those things where, as a fan of other competitive randomizers, I've been watching a lot of the Super Metroid map rando races that the community puts on all the time. And sometimes players with better execution but slower routing decision-making, like staring at the map longer, trying to figure out how the map all connects, those players end up doing worse than players who technically have slightly worse execution, but they've already had the map memorized, like they, you know, have a better understanding of where it is that they're going, and just by being more immediate to make the decision, even if they're executing slightly slower, is the deciding factor between like who ends up winning.
I mean, time lost looking at a map is still time lost, right?
Exactly, yes. And also, speaking of time loss, Scrimps, where are you going? What is the thought process here? Has he... No, he saved Richter, so he could just reverse library card at this point, unless Merman... Oh, he has to go to Merman. No, this makes sense. He's going to Merman. I think warping to Castle Entrance might have been slightly faster, but actually in this scenario, it's probably a toss-up. Again, it's one of those...
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he's doing the Merman enemy. Okay.
Yes. So this is that exact scenario where if I had library carded and done a different route, it might be a difference of like 20 seconds one way faster or the other. But making the decision instantly is the important part, right? And with experience, you figure out which routes end up being faster in which scenario. And Advent doing the same route too. Also deciding, you know what, I'm already here.
There's bats right there, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, and he runs away from the bats.
Theoretically, it is optimal to not get the bats now, but to get them in the cave when you're fighting right after fighting death on the way to Galamoth.
Yeah, okay.
It is technically faster because the difference between
You're right.
moving half a screen over versus not having to move at all ends up mattering. So Scrimps is okay. Same thing happened with the Thornweed. He killed a Thornweed and got the Tooth of Vlad to drop, but he didn't go back for it because he's like, there's more later and I won't need to stop at all. His thought process is go,
That's
go,
true.
go, go, go. And honestly, I respect
You'll
that.
have to kill them on the way to Galamoth for sure.
Exactly, yeah. Again, that's another free location for those relics to drop. So it's like not that big of a deal. Whereas Advent, on the other hand, does need to go out of his way here, but it is kind of like a serendipity in a way that both of these two Vlads are right next to each other. Because it's not going to be enough time for Scrimps to catch up here. But I respect Scrimps' routing a lot, genuinely. I think this was a difference in execution and like early game boss fights is what made the biggest difference. Because in a vacuum, I think his route ended up being better.
And here's the shmoo, which they've already gotten, but you know.
I think both players have reverse library carded at least once by now, right? Actually, Scrimps hasn't,
I believe so.
right? No, I think he did. Because I think that was Ring. Was no, it's Heart. Heart of Vlad is the shmoo. So this is his first opportunity to get the shmoo. Yeah. But I will say, being in go mode 40 minutes in is pretty quick for a Rampage seed. We've been seeing them easily go over an hour.
And he left it behind?
Yeah, he does have to go back for it. Granted, theoretically, he could have kept going. There's more shmoos.
There's 2 more shmoos here. And then there's potentially 3 in this room if you go back and forth a little.
Yep. Exactly.
I always love the way that Symphony of the Night loads certain enemies when you go one way, but not when you go another way. It's a perfect game with absolutely 0 flaws.
The way that this game, like, when you realize that this game was put together on like a shoestring budget in a very short amount of time, all things considered, like I think they had to restart development because it was originally a 32X game and then they had to restart for the PlayStation. It goes to show that like there's a lot of passion put into this game, but it is also very jank. But the developers, they didn't have time to care about that. It's, they had like, I think it was like 13 months or something like that to finish the game. Something crazy like that.
Yeah, they just had to MacGyver the game, that's all.
Yeah.
It's fine.
And it's our fault that, 30 years later, we're poking around at the game's code. I say we as if I do anything. It's mostly, Eldritch and the Randomizer gang poking around at the game's code, trying to make it dance for our amusement. And it doesn't like that sometimes.
Dance, monkey.
But we do like seeing a very fast shaft kill. Like, yeah. Honestly, not that far behind, all things considered. Scrimps' route, again, also would have been pretty damn efficient. The only outlier was him deciding to do Medusa. If he had left immediately, it would have been slightly more optimal, but because now his route would have him go through, or maybe, no, his thought process was that he was going to use the warp to kill Aquadon in trio? Okay, never mind. Killing Medusa there is fine.
And this is something that I nitpick about, and I don't think that a lot of people have noticed this, but like, okay, I think it should be noted. You watch people go through some of these rooms, and I'm like, where did you get this movement strategy from? Because most of the time I'm like, this could be done so much more efficiently.
It's people just winging it. Most of the time.
Yeah, like most of the time, people are just winging it. And it's like if they actually watched people go through these rooms who have experience moving through these rooms, like kind of like what Talik used to say is, you should always enter each room with a plan on how you're going to execute that room.
Yep.
And I don't see a plan on a lot of these people.
It happens, yeah. I mean, because some people are focusing on the macro level game plan of like, I want to go here, go here, go here. I don't know how I'm going to do it yet, but, focusing on the macro ends up mattering. And I think that's a concession from Scrimps. GG's. Yeah, very, very, very fast seed considering what this preset normally has entailed. So let's go ahead and jump up to the racers and ask them about race number 2.
Yeah.
GG's.
GG's, folks.
GG's.
GG's, folks. Yeah, that was a very fun race to watch. Very fast Rampage seed, all things considered. 42 minutes, that's, I think, the fastest one I've seen so far. So, very powerful seed.
Yeah, I felt
Yeah,
good when I had bad early, but I did a bunch of dumb stuff, and
I think
got
your
super
route,
super lucky, I think, but I don't know.
yeah, I think your route was very much fine for the most part, Scrimps. I think the major difference was there was an early game discrepancy in damage because I believe the ectoplasms dropped a Alucard shield for Advent early on, and I don't think you ever found that one.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was. I didn't. I got the duplicator from that guy.
Blade
The
Master.
yeah, I got that, and I was like, okay, I'll find something. And when I was going back through later, and I saw the Chris Grim there, I felt so dumb. It was right
Yeah.
there. I could have just had that the whole time.
Yeah, because you found the duplicator, but then you were struggling to find something to pair it with, and that is one of the
Yeah.
downsides with the duplicator as far as damage goes.
No throwables anywhere.
Yeah, I think you were using like a shuriken at one point, and it's like, ooh, it's not a good look when you're throwing shurikens. And I think you were using like the magic missile versus Granfalloon.
Oh my god, that was so bad.
I think that's where Advent ended up like catching up, just based off of because you guys were both fighting Granfalloon around the same time, but the Alucard shield just like shredded him. Meanwhile, your fight took like a minute and a half or something like that.
Yeah, I half
makes sense.
expected you to equip the Monster Vial 2 with the pentagram to use Vial stacks against Granfalloon, and when you went to the
I
magic
forgot
missile,
Vial
I was
stacks
like,
is a thing because to
damn.
me it's like it's largely a meme. It's not often
Yeah,
effective.
very
but,
rarely
like,
does it come
would
up.
have been really good there, and
Yeah,
I just
very
forgot it was
rarely.
a thing.
Oh well, regardless, it is best 2 out of 3, so we're not done with this one yet. Advent does
That's
get
right.
his one ban out of the remaining presets here. So you can choose. Actually, you can ban any of the presets. You can technically ban Rampage again if you want to, but
I'll ban Recycler.
cool. Which leaves 4 open for Scrimps to choose from: Chimera, Cornivus, Nimble Light, and the Rampage Runback. So any of those are available to you.
Let's do Chimera.
Alrighty. Chimera it is.
All right.
I'll go ahead and get that race started. Feel free to grab some water and take a short break, and we'll be back in just a little bit with that tournament race. So we got ourselves the second race now. Chimera is the preset chosen. Let's get these players their countdown and get started in just a little bit. So how you liking Chimera, Eldritch? How you feel about it?
3, 2.
I am not Chimera's biggest fan in general. Like, I
Okay.
think that Safe is not a fun preset, but I think that Chimera is probably one of the most fair presets that we have.
Okay.
So,
I do like it. I feel like it is a combination of a lot of interesting presets that we have had available to us for quite a while, with things like the extra wolf movement that we get from Lycanthrope, stuff of that nature. So, and already a pretty key decision to be made. Which side do you go? Both players kind of thinking through their options. And are we going to see a route divergence immediately? I'd be very curious to see. Yeah, it seems like it. Okay, so Scrimps is liking the idea of going to the caverns first. Classic Advent, on the other hand, wants to go to castle entrance. And it is important,
to note that both of our players started with a duplicator equipped.
Yep. So checking the inventory, taking that off, especially here in the second castle. Don't want to get one shot if you don't necessarily have to. 41 damage. Did Scrimps take off the duplicator? Or is it just his low level?
He did. I don't think he even looked.
Yeah, that's a tough one. But, I mean, things are fine so far. Everything's fine.
We're all fine here. It's fine.
The problem that I'm foreseeing is Scrimps is getting some extra levels under his belt, it seems like. But Scrimps is going to have to contend with the probably one of the scariest rooms in the game, in my opinion. The Blue Venus Weeds plus Rock Knights. They both do a ton of damage. There's so many of those enemies on the screen at once, and they have the potential to kill you very, very quickly. So this is a scary decision for sure for Scrimps, and hopefully he finds some items that could potentially help him out here. Life max up, can't complain about that.
I kind of wish that he had checked the Osafune room.
Yeah, I mean, that has the potential to help another life max up. Okay, he's not
like the Osafune room and the button room over there across the waterfall. Those could have given him something potentially, but he's kind of opted for, you know what, I'm just going to check what's on the way and see what happens.
Summon Spirit here at the very edge of the screen, not enough to activate the Blue Venus Weed AI here. So this could be a bit of a way that he can gain a bit of an advantage, getting some early levels, but it's not doing a lot of damage.
It's true though, because these blue Venusuids, when they're in this this tiny Thornweed form, they only have 100 hit points here.
Yep.
As opposed to 500. So.
All right. And then from here, yeah, you should be relatively safe just slashing at the rock. Yep. And gets the Alucard shield. Okay. One half of the way down. As far as like having one of the better combos. Meanwhile, Advent is opting to fight freaking Bee's nuts over here. Oh, this is really scary. Why are you jumping into the Rock Knight? Oh my god. 5 HP.
Stop!
Oh god, they're both in very tricky situations here. I mean,
yeah, Classic Advent already poisoned and dies to a fly.
This is what I was talking about earlier. You know, Classic Advent looks like the best player in the world when you give him a duplicator Alucard shield, but does he have the experience under his belt to fight these late game bosses with very awkward equipment? You know, Terminus is a decent
Scrimps
sword,
over here is healing himself up with dessert.
Yeah, which I mean, that is a fair use of the duplicator. That's one of those things that wasn't on Advent's mind necessarily, because I know he has the duplicator and I know he has the at
red
least
bean bun.
Yeah, at least the red bean bun. However, he also just died from a very like high range. He also has curry rice, which I think that heals
More.
it heals more, but I don't think this is the game where it starts healing for like full nearly. I think it's later Castlevanias that the curry ends up being basically a full heal. But Fire Boomerang is a decent throwable as well for Classic Advent, just gets that drop. Meanwhile, progress is being made by Scrimps slowly but surely. And Advent says, you know what, screw this noise, I'm out of here. I'm not going to fight Beelzebub anymore.
Spirit is so bad against this form of death. Oh
Yes.
my god.
Tetra Spirit's pretty bad. And also, the Moonrod is a strong weapon when you use the like the special attack. The only downside with it, however, is that when you commit to the attack animation, you just are forced to like sit there and wait. So it's very easy to accidentally take damage while you're waiting for that animation to clear, like that, just like that. So Scrimps is gonna have to be careful trying to get a soul steal off. He should have enough MP. Yeah. Unfortunately, death moves off screen.
Slow down. There we go.
Yeah. It pushes death off screen, so he doesn't get the full heal off of it. But yeah, I think Terminus is just the correct play. Because I think as far as poison damage goes, Dracula and Shaft are immune. Are there any other bosses that resist it? Uh-oh. Skullface.
Akmadon.
Oh, yeah, Akmadon. It resists it, yeah, is immune.
Oh, the skulls are coming out.
So this is one of those things where you need to understand the way that you fight death here is this is a damage race. Because if you get him into the skull phase, he doesn't stop. He will not stop until you do more damage. And
you can only get 2 pieces of food.
And the amount of damage that the skulls have is insane. By the way, Classic Advent on the other side, also not having necessarily the best time, 27 HP, gets big tossed by one of the Guardians, I think. This is a rough start for both players, for sure. Both routes definitely seem tough. It's one of the harder starting locations for that exact reason.
That meal ticket is looking real tempting right now because, like, okay, think about it this way, right? So you have red bean bun and curry rice, and okay, yeah, maybe. But the meal ticket is guaranteed to eventually give you a sirloin, a pot roast.
Something that heals basically full damage, yeah. And like, yes, it doesn't give you invincibility per se, but it's still very powerful. Also, Advent, you just got a Flamestar drop and an Anti-Venom drop. Put on that duplicator, bro. It's time.
Now is the time for you to rise.
I mean, Flamestar, as far as pure damage goes, is the strongest throwable of that kind. So
yeah, like you honestly, like, the only time you don't want the Flamestar is against Cerberus and Dracula. Come on.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Advent taking a look at his inventory. Was that? Oh, Flamestar and Fire Boomerang. You know, it makes sense. Sypha hangs out in the air, so I think Scrimps' damage is just not high enough to actually kill Death. I think he's actually being gate kept right now, damage-wise. This might be one of those things. It's one of those things where you just, if you're unaware of the mechanics of this boss fight, you can end up in a really rough spot, especially because
most healing instead of damaging right now. I would so be healing instead of damaging. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things where most players never have to fight this guy early. Like, without the second castle start, you never have a reason to fight this guy early. So
given a choice between Death and Galamoth, I go Galamoth every time.
Oh yeah, at least Galamoth you can just you know, loop his ass. But Death, on the other hand, he's much harder to handle with lower levels, lower damage output potential because of that weird like 1.5 phase 1.5 that he has. Meanwhile, Advent is just, you know what, taking his time slow and steady through the castle. Doesn't have any deaths under his belt other than that first one with Beelzebub, and he honestly cut his losses. He said, you know what, I don't need to keep fighting if I don't have to. And by doing so, he's making genuine progress. Granted, he might have to come back to Beelzebub later for like a familiar or a Vlad relic, I mean, but you know, for now, he's the first to be making real progress, and that does matter.
Yeah, honestly, like I would abandon most of these. I remember making a similar mistake during one of my runs. I was like, why would I go all the way to Galamoth in a Chimera run? Like, it didn't make sense.
That's really tough. Scrimps is going to need to collect himself here.
Like, he did choose the harder route, for sure.
Yes, and that is one of those things that you need to be aware of. It's one of the reasons why the second castle start can be very tricky for these players. You know, sometimes slow and steady and consistency wins out for sure. So, also just knowing which options you have available to you and knowing the optimal like options. Like if I'm Scrimps, I'm probably just farming Rock Knights if I want to commit to this route.
I created a full-on map showing like, okay, if you start here, this is where you go to get experience so that you're not under-leveled, right? Yeah. And that's really what it is. Like, but I understand that it's not just being underleveled that's really ruining Scrimps here. He's suffering for weapons because, you know, he's used to using things that are like two-hitting swords, those kinds of deals. But he's also suffering for not having the levels to handle these enemies.
Yep. And I mean, Duplicator obviously is not helping as far as like defense goes. I don't think he turned it off fighting Death either, which he definitely should have.
No.
In fact, he should probably be turning off the Duplicator in this entire section.
Yeah. Almost.
Does he not know that Duplicator lowers all of your stats? Because that's a big deal. It's very possible that maybe he's not aware of how bad he's getting screwed over because of the Duplicator. Meanwhile, Advent does do the Akmadon early dive kick front slide strat and is now exiting, and he did get rewarded with a Heart of Vlad for it. Honestly, there's a bit of sunk cost fallacy maybe going on in Scrimps' mind here, but there's a world where the correct decision is to turn around. To just, you know what, I'm done here. But instead he's...
Go back through entrance and hit up the Necro Lab.
Oh, I hope your plan is not to farm Slagra, because they have the first castle boss experience.
Yep. Oh, it's terrible.
Fight Death again. And again, still has the Duplicator equipped, I'm pretty sure. Which is lowering your intelligence, which is lowering your damage potential with these spells.
And he's refusing to use the meal ticket.
Yeah, this is just it could just be a lapse in judgment here because he's frustrated by the things not going his way. But there are things in his control here. He has options available to him, and he's just kind of just picking the wrong ones here.
I mean, this is number one, the best way to get tilted for sure.
Yes. Yeah, sometimes you just have to say, you know what, it's not working out. I got to go do something else. You know what I mean? If at the very least, go to a new zone to kill new enemies to see new drops, like stuff like that, you know, something along those lines.
The guaranteed drops is the biggest blessing when you're doing a second castle start, because there's a lot of enemies that they may not give the most experience in second castle even, but at least they can give you a drop.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and Moonrod is not the solution here. Maybe he thought there's a world where he can use Moonrod to his advantage, but yeah. That's tough. It's very tough.
Meanwhile, Classic Advent making a beeline for first castle, just trying to get out of there.
Yeah, Scrimps rage quits.
Oof.
That is understandable. I get it, but
I totally get it. I understand where he's at here. You just sometimes you let the seed get in your head, and then the randomizer going to randomize.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, at this point, I did not expect anybody to forfeit at any point during the tournament, so that's fun. I don't really have a contingency plan here, but I do think that there was a lot of things that were in his control. as far as like options available, even if it is just the simple option of like which direction to go or which items to use when, or the strategy even to implore there. So there were options available to him, but unfortunately, I think just picked the wrong decision a couple times in a row and then stuck to it because of sunk cost. It really does come down to that.
The boon upon him, though, is that this is double elimination, so he's got a chance to redeem.
Yep, that is true. Yeah, there is a world where, you know, you make the losers run all the way through here, but I think in this case, I don't think we need to watch Advent play this one out or force him to play this one out unless he really wants to.
Watching Yorick jump when you kill his head is always entertaining. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I didn't really plan for this, but I think we can just safely say that if Scrimps is fully forfeited and has already accepted the loss, we can just give it to Advent here, and we don't need to force him to play it out.
Yep.
I'll let him know. Hey, just coming in to let you know that you don't need to play this one out if you don't want to, Advent. Hey, just coming in to let you know that you... listen.
All right.
All good, all good. Unfortunate scenario, but it happens.
I didn't realize I had duplicator
Oh,
at
yeah.
the start,
Yeah.
which would have made things way easier.
You can do the cheater strat that Crazy Four Blades implements, which is seeing the spoiler for the starting equipment.
I can't read, so...
Fair enough. I always make fun of him for saying that it's cheating, but it does come up. Knowing that you have the duplicator equipped does come up. But
Sorry, I tried really hard to keep going because I know it just ruins the match. But like, there's no point in continuing when I die 5, 6, 7 times or whatever.
it's understandable. I get it. I mean, you don't have to keep forcing through it if you don't want to. But it is
It's a
double
rough
elimination, so you're not out of it yet. You have a chance to keep playing. So yeah, hopefully better luck in the future matches.
I
There you
think
go.
the gear should have been good enough. I think it's just a skill issue.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. I mean, the second castle starts are tough, so I wouldn't feel too bad about it. I mean, I've died in practice matches and stuff like that too, so it happens. But either way, GG's. Thanks for the
GG's.
match, and
GG.
I'll see you guys later.
Yep.
All right.
Take care.
Alrighty. That's unfortunate, but it happens. It happens. I always knew that it would be a possibility for something like that to happen with second castle start. Like it can be pretty brutal. But I do think there was, at least Scrimps is aware that it's like, I don't think it was a luck thing. It was a skill issue. And it's like on a different day with different mindset, things could have been different, that sort of thing. So I wouldn't feel too bad about it. And again, double elimination. So it's unfortunate for us because I definitely wanted to watch more matches here, but it is what it is. But we still got more tournament action to schedule soon, and I'm going to reach out to the players to start scheduling those matches as soon as possible.